word to the wise here before this video gets in. I intend to make you either cry, scream, sweat buckets, or tug your collar nervously going, spicy questions. But anyway, I was watching the Hodge twins yesterday, as we do, because they're funny, and they were discussing this one.
Okay, let go. You didn't let me get my moment, so I want to say my name is Kadijata Diallo, and I'm graduating today. I don't like how you snatched the mic out of my hand, so today is going to be all about me.
Oh, drops the mic. Congratulations!
Now, let's be honest here for a moment, shall we? Is anyone surprised by this type of behavior? No, not at all. One look at the demographic and we're all thinking, yep, loud, aggressive, entitled, arrogant, absolutely no sense of self-awareness whatsoever. And the most pathetically limp-wristed charge of racism she claims to have been a victim of, oh yeah, it turns out to be fake. Again, is anyone surprised? Nope, not at all, especially given the currency used to garner attention in this depressingly stupid society we find ourselves in. I was watching a clip from this guy, Joey B. Seems like a pretty cool guy, actually, and he showed this clip from Miami. Look at this. Like jiggling magnets lured in by gravitational pull. What the hell is wrong with these people? I have seen baboons in the wild back home that behave with more social grace than these creatures, and I'm not kidding. When I see this, there is something in my soul that just weeps, or screams in rage, I don't know which. I just want to be as far away from this type of behavior as humanly possible because as a human, I'm embarrassed that we're the same species. I actually feel shame. And it's not even a tribal practice that serves a purpose. It's just, why? I don't know if it's this demographic, if it's this generation, if it's social media, if it's phones, but there is clearly something not wired right in modern day humans. But then with this.
You know, some of these people, Kevin, let me say this. Some of these people, like you see her when she was making her excuses on a TikTok video, she had an African necklace around her neck.
Yeah,
every time I quote,
that's a red flag.
That's a red flag. That's like somebody with a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah.
Right? But it's like these people live in a false sense of reality.
Yeah.
Their perception of the world is that it's racist. So she sees racism when there's no racism there. That's why she behaved the way she did. She felt like she had been slighted.
Let me say something. Why do these people hold allegiance to a country that sold us into slavery? I'm not going to hold allegiance to that country. They sold us like bags of sugar like we was property. Yeah, the white man was wrong too, but hey, who caught you? Like, look at modern times. When someone's arrested for drugs, they always offer a plea deal to the guy that's selling drugs. They want the guy that's running the operation, right? So why are you holding allegiance to a country, to a continent that actually sold us? They was the main perpetrators behind slavery.
I don't even think that last part is even true. And as distasteful as the girl may be, she is at the very least African, I believe. She has an African name, so I assume her father is probably from there, but then again, who knows? But what Kevin said, that holding no allegiance to Africa because they sold your ancestors into slavery. First off, Africa is not a country, it's a continent. And who holds allegiance to a continent? This is all based off her wearing a necklace, mind you. I don't even know how you would go about doing that. And to dismiss an entire continent for slavery, that makes no sense. Every continent is guilty of that, including the one you currently live on, Kevin. Oh, but you just hate the ones that did the capturing, is it? So what is that then? Are there blacks? And then which blacks? Again, Africa is not a country, it's a continent. If everyone is African, surprise, they're distinguished by other variables, right? Tribal identities in this case. So by that logic, you must hate the Arabs as well then, considering the Muslims were far crueler to African slaves and engaged in the practice far longer than did the Europeans. Like, this modern-day American view of slavery is so weird. It's so hyper-focused on race in a way that makes absolutely no sense at all. To dislike an entire continent for slavery is just bizarre. This weird idea of racial harmony on a continent where everyone, again, big surprise, is African. As if they all hold hands and sing Kumbaya. Heaven's sake, black Americans are the main perpetrators of violent crime in America, and it's mostly against other black people. The idea that in the absence of whitey, this will all be diminished is just insane. Like, when you look at the slave trade, there's two hypotheses. Did the availability of gunpowder drive the slave trade in Africa, or were the slaves the spoils of naturally occurring tribal warfare? You decide. But anyway, let me point out something kind of screwed up. Look at the slave trade in terms of, say, power and security, not solely profit, so this assumes the latter, by the way. if you're surrounded by other tribes that might encroach on your land to try and kill you, and you could make them disappear in exchange for armaments to prevent further encroachment, well, purely from a survival aspect, that's a win-win for you. Or use it to, dominate other tribes, tooling up with better weaponry. I'm sure that never happened. By the way, if you strip down the basic essence of that process, valuables in exchange for making the unwanted disappear, we have this in society right now. It's called police. But let me ask something that I've never heard anyone ask before. Have you ever noticed no one ever questions the morality or past of slaves ever? You ever notice that? No one goes, oh, those people enslaved my ancestors. What do you know about your ancestors exactly? Like, who were they? What did they do? Who were they associated with? Why were they enslaved? Do we know or care about any of that? No, because once you're enslaved, all of your previous sins are washed away like a political baptism, and the person who enslaved you is instantly deemed more immoral than you forever. I know we can never know because they were slaves and all, but the idea that every one of the millions who were enslaved were morally good humans, and even then by what standards at the time, is kind of far-fetched to say the least. Besides, those kind of people know nothing about their ancestors. The only time they mention them is to bring up slavery and use it as a cop-out for the sake of their own lives or to score cheap political brownie points. And no, I'm not apologizing for that because we all know it's freaking true. There's going to be a bunch of people in the comment section going, huh, I never thought about that, and it's kind of uncomfortable. Yeah, how do you think I felt? Welcome to the club. So let's make it worse, because they also happen to discuss the crime rate in San Francisco.
Governor Newsom, he's talking trash on Florida and Texas. Everybody's fleeing his state. So because your Democrat policies. Won't y'all be tough on crime? These damn people are packing up, people going in the stores, stealing millions of dollars in broad daylight.
Yeah, and it's one demographic, too. I hate to say it. The niggas.
There's some white people in there, too.
I ain't seen not one white person.
Come on, man. Some white people in there.
If you see a white person, I guarantee he's mixed. It's got black blood in him. I guarantee it. This is genetic. I think these people are born to be savages.
Hey, Kim, what's wrong with you? You stop joking like that, man. I mean, you ain't savage.
Savages is what they are.
We ain't no savages.
Yeah, because we whitewashed. They took our black card. We had no choice but to, become civilized.
What's wrong with this?
I'm spitting facts over here. That was the best thing that happened to me is when he took my black card from me.
No, the best thing that happened to us is that our parents raised us
to
hold ourselves accountable and be responsible. That's why we are. That's why we in the position we in today. That's why we robbing people.
You think these black kids? You don't think their parents raised them to be responsible? You probably don't have daddies or something.
That and then it's just like a subculture with the music and the lost cause.
Look, we can all joke and laugh because it's funny and all, but it's also because there's an overwhelming vein of truth to all of that we all know, but no one has the balls to point to. Far as the genetic argument goes, look, some people think it's inherent versus environment, nature versus nurture and all of that. But prior to the 60s, they had more intact families than the whites did. 60 years later, there's almost 3 times the rate of single motherhood in the black community than in the white community. And it's not getting any better. Why? Why is it that those policies affect them more than any other demographic? Look at the last couple of years, how many things you can't talk about that turn out to be true. I'm not saying it's the case here, definitely. But the more you can't talk about something, the more it gives the impression there might be something to it. And to all of those who are crying, oh my God, it's so racist. Okay, let's say it is. Now what? Now what? I got news for you, Junior. Throwing the word racism at a problem does not make it go away. So unless you have a viable solution that doesn't involve throwing more of other people's money at it, shove it up your ass. At this point, I'm damn near close to saying anyone that says the word racist in this day and age, unless it's referring to discrimination against white people, is just using it to garner attention. Get real. But again, no one has the balls to say anything. Hell, no one has the balls to discuss any of the actual problems facing society these days. No, we're too busy arguing about how many fucking genders there are, or the stock value of piss water that no one even bloody drinks, or the demise of a bunch of dumbass billionaires in a steel tube, or thinking there's a coup in a country that most people couldn't even fucking point to, even if their bloody lives depended on it. I apologize for nothing.